how's it going? I'm Jenni.
KB here.
And we are fans of the show.
Arcane.
And it was me who found this short while I was scrolling through YouTube like I do. My mom asked me, how do you guys find good stuff on YouTube? And I was like, it's because I'm on YouTube all the time, just looking at things. Yeah, no wonder I became a YouTuber. Yeah, so I found this short, and I was like, I don't think I super disagree with this. I sent it over to KB, and she was like, yeah, so it makes some points that I don't necessarily agree with. You got a little heated, too, when you saw it.
Yeah.
First. You were like, how did you even find this? Why did you click on it? It was like morbid curiosity. Same reason I watch shark movies. Same reason I watch The Meg.
Yeah, that was a good movie, too.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had a morbid curiosity about this one and sent it to you, and you were like, what? So let's go ahead and take a look.
Here we go. Here we go. With some wind. Whoops, say so.
I'll admit that Arcane ended up being pretty cool, but is...
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
It did end up being pretty cool. Thanks for acknowledging that.
Yes.
no one else a little tired of movies and TV or streaming shows that are primarily centered around essentially bad people?
So first of all, like, I'm not tired of that, because if I start watching something and I don't like it, I'd stop watching it.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And I really don't think, like, let's look at Lifetime, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lifetime is an entire network that is usually whodunits and things of that nature, and they're very successful because people tend to like that kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's drama.
It's drama, it's intense. Like, I know one time I was watching with a friend and we promised ourselves just one more episode, but they do it so great, a movie. Mm-hmm. As soon as the credits happen, the new one starts to preview. So you're just basically going to keep watching.
You just keep watching.
It's just a...
What was the last thing that he said? He said, yeah, let's back it up a little bit.
Oh, let's see here.
Bad people? For those who
Bad
haven't seen-
people.
Bad people.
So, bad people.
Yeah.
I think that in order to think about the characters in Arcane as bad people, you have to be a black and white kind of thinker.
You do.
And real life isn't really like that. It's not like, oh, you're a good person.
Right.
And you're a bad person.
Right.
It's not super clear. Like, even people who do a lot of good might tell a white lie or fib, or, you know, people who do a lot of damage might have good intentions or be doing a lot of good in another way,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I even remember I was listening to this documentary,
Mm-hmm.
or it was something like that, where they were talking about the mafia bosses.
Oh,
And
yeah.
how they're like the ones that, there was someone whose tire went out and they bought them a new one and got their car fixed and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I think the real world has people who are all shades of gray.
Yes.
I think we all have the potential to do things that are good and things that are bad. And we all make mistakes.
We do.
Yeah, we're all human. We're all doing what we do. We all make mistakes. We all do things that are good and help others. We all do things that are bad and harm others. And something that I learned when I was going to meditation classes at this Buddhist temple is that we all harm others. See, in Buddhism, they really aim to minimize that harm. So one of the things that they talked about was that even when you mow your lawn, you're harming thousands of little creatures and critters. Yeah. And all that we can do is do our best to minimize the harm that we cause.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that the fact that these characters are how they are is what makes them so realistic, because they all have certain motivations, they all have a lot of flaws, and so do we as people.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes them so relatable. And especially Powder, who turns into Jinx. I think, like, I've definitely been that kind of person who gets jealous when someone I'm close to starts paying attention to someone else, you know, or doesn't want to be left behind when someone leaves. Like, we all have these emotional responses.
Yeah.
So I think that they're just kind of echoing reality, and I think that's what makes this show so unique and interesting, is the fact that it's animated.
Yes.
And yet it's so true to certain things about real life that a lot of live action stuff doesn't even show.
It's very true about that, though.
Yeah.
It's very true.
It's full of these, like, really, I don't know what the word is, like, opposites, I guess. Full of opposites. Contradictory.
With a group of kids breaking into someone else's apartment and stealing everything they can. One of the...
All right. So, yes, these kids do break into someone's apartment.
They do.
Yeah. They're poor kids trying to do what Papa Van
did when
he was young, which was go and steal. And I feel like, though, that their intention wasn't malicious, because even when they come back and Vander's grilling Vi about it, she's like, we can handle a real job, we mapped it out. Like, her intention more so is, like, to prove herself, and to get, and she's like, we're here scrounging for pennies, and they have all of this stuff. I'm not saying stealing is right, but I'm saying that they didn't steal to be jerks.
No.
They stole for their own reasons and their own intentions. Yeah, they're not trying to cause harm, they just kind of are. Not, like I said, I don't think stealing's okay.
Right.
But I think that, they're not like, let's steal from this guy, we hate him.
Right.
Yeah, any thoughts so far?
I just think it's just, I kind of think about Aladdin and how he had to kind of still survive.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. Yep.
They're, in a way, street rats.
Oh, they call them sump rats.
Yes.
Sump rats.
Yeah. So,
that's what Marcus calls them.
That's what Marcus calls them. But, they're doing what they need to do to survive, right? So there's things that you do in life to survive. Like you said, they're not being malicious. They're doing things that are going to make their lives easier because they're going to take all this stuff and sell it and hopefully get big payday so they can, possibly stop stealing.
And Vi says she's like, I want a better life
for Powder. She wants a better life for Powder.
So it's not like I said, she has her intentions. And I think that that's, again, so true to what happens in life. Is that, like, we can have a sense of morals. And life kind of tests them. Yeah.
Well, I had a friend a really long time ago, and they stole something, but it was to get their mother medicine. Oh. So they, actually stole something that was valuable, were able to get the money to get their mother medicine. So it's not right to steal, but it happens for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah. It's not always clear. It's shades of gray.
Yeah.
Powder takes a sack of mysterious blue orbs from an obviously special case, and instead of simply pondering an orb or two when she gets home, she drops one.
Okay, she dropped it, on accident. You even saw the scene just there. She wasn't trying to drop it on purpose. She just was shoving them in her bag, and so it wasn't her intention to cause that explosion.
And the thing, too, is you're gonna see something shiny, you're gonna want to take a look at it, see what this is. You're not just gonna put it in your pocket and skedaddle, right? So for her to be like, oh, you're gonna pawn this at home. No. If I see something shiny, I'm gonna be like, hey, what is this? Shiny.
Yeah, she's a curious kid.
Yeah, she's curious.
She wants to know what all of this stuff is.
Yeah, exactly.
In her hurry to escape, it explodes. This sort of becomes a theme with Powder.
It does.
She does cause, and you were the one who counted. How many times does Powder cause some things to go awry?
Just within the first act.
Yeah.
I think I counted about 4 or 5 different times.
And those were accidents.
Yeah.
Because then later I think she was doing things on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
In the beginning, she accidentally causes all these things to go wrong. And to me, honestly,
she means well.
Yeah, I feel like when I see characters make mistakes, it's very validating for me because, again, life doesn't always go how you plan. Life doesn't go how you want it to. And I remember that I made a mistake, and it wasn't anything that caused any kind of catastrophic damage. Just something I did incorrect at work. And I was watching the show Miraculous, and they had an episode where Marinette made a mistake. And I was just like, she's not a real person, she's a character.
Yeah.
But I was like, even she makes a mistake. Like, and for me, it comforted me and it made me feel better. Because I'm like, even superhero, it was like, I think it was as she was as Ladybug.
Oh.
So I'm like, even Ladybug made a mistake.
What?
And you know, I owned up to it. And so did she, I believe. I don't remember anymore. But she seems the type that would, like, own up to it and try to fix it.
Yeah.
And so did I. But I feel like, you know, when you're going through things in real life and you see your own story reflected in an animated story, I feel like there's this sense of feeling like you've been seen.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I kind of hate all these kids, and I don't.
I mean, I guess you can, but I don't. I don't hate any of these kids, really.
Nor do I.
I think they live complicated lives. Like, they were dealt a really tough lot.
I mean, in the very first episode, not even, like, a few minutes in, we actually get to see little Powder and little Vi, and their parents are dead. You got all this fire and everything, and you got... Their parents are dead. They've been through a lot of stuff. You know, so...
Yeah, I definitely don't hate them.
I don't hate them.
I think that they're just doing what they know to do, what they've learned from their circumstances. Not everyone has the same idea of what's right and wrong.
Correct.
And clearly, like, Vander's idea of what's right and wrong changes.
It did.
He thinks it's right first to lead a rebellion.
Yep.
And then he sees the damage it causes, and he's like, never mind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's him in his own way being a good person.
Yeah.
So I don't see how you think that's like its own discussion of like they're not all bad. Vander's definitely not bad. He's doing the best he knows how to do.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, he's raising these kids the best that he can. He has limited, like, what's the word? Limited resources? Yeah.
Resources. Mm-hmm.
Limited capabilities of what he can do to parent them into being good people. Yeah. And, I mean, he does. He kind of chides them.
Yeah.
All of this.
Yeah.
He's like, but, yeah, I definitely think that... I think that they're, like, likable kids. I think some people also, like, just don't like kids, so I'm not sure if that's part of this person's deal. Yeah, some people don't like kids. I think I have a family member who's like that, and he...
I think everyone has that family member.
Yeah, so when kids are around, he'll be like, they're making so much noise or whatever. Like, some people but I do like kids in general. I tend to. So I think that matters in terms of, like, how much do you like these kids as characters? What do you think about them not being likable?
I think they're likable. I mean, Milo's kind of annoying, but I feel like he's supposed to be annoying.
Milo? I feel like he's such a good, like, brotherly character.
He is.
Because he's like, oh gosh, like, I kind of have to love you.
Yeah.
Because you're like a brother
You're like a brother to me. But he complains about everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like a sibling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's not a terrible character, and I don't dislike him, but I'm just like, Milo, man.
Could you not?
Could you not? You're at a 10, I need you like a 2, preferably.
Yeah.
And he does all his rags on poor Powder.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, that's kind of annoying, but I think that, like, sometimes he's kind of funny, though.
He is, though. Yeah, he's got his moments where he's funny, too. Just
I think
like,
he's amusing.
When Vi kicks the door, animals, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's, like, trying to, like,
Yeah.
It's just like, I have no patience for this. Kicks it. He's just like...
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're amusing to watch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, all of them kind of are, and it's interesting to see them interact.
And Clagger takes the cupcake.
And also, like, it's cool how they're so young and they are doing all that parkour.
I know.
I think that's really awesome.
It really is.
And interesting to watch. So, yeah, I do like them.
I do like them, yeah. Mm-hmm. Even annoying Milo.
I don't particularly love the guy who got robbed, either.
Okay, like, you don't have to love Jayce, and I think Jayce gets a lot of hate.
He does.
But I think that Jayce... his intentions are always good. Mm-hmm. And again, I feel like I could see how someone who's more of a black and white thinker is like, was this good or was this bad?
Right.
But if you look at the shades of gray, Jayce, first of all, his whole reason of getting involved in creating Hex Tech was because he wants to make lives better for people.
Yep.
He has received something good in terms of his mom being saved. And he's like, wow, I received this gift, and I want to be able to gift this to others too.
Yeah,
I want to be
absolutely.
able to do something good and help people. So that's why he created Hex Tech. And also he goes in later with Vi, and he starts trying to fight off the Shimmer people.
Yeah.
And trying to like stop Shimmer distribution.
Yeah.
He's trying to do good. And then when he sees the collateral damage, he's so affected by it that he changes course. So I think that he's always well-intentioned.
Yeah.
And he's an example of what happens when good intentions meet just extremely difficult circumstances. There is no right answer. I mean, a black and white thinker might think that there is. They might just be like, oh, just do this. Oh, just do that. But I feel like that's what makes the show so interesting, is that they really are willing to get in there and explore kind of like, what if there is no easy yes or no? What if there is no easy right answer? And I feel like real life is a lot like that.
It is.
Real life is just life. It just happens. It's not something where everything is there with like a clear answer of what to do. There's always like a lot of complication. Well, not always a lot of complication, but there can be.
Yeah, there can be complication.
And it pops up always at some point, right? Even if you're like, hey, I'm someone who always believes this. There's situations that are going to test that. You're like, oh, I'm someone who always believes stealing is wrong. Well, what if someone has a hungry child and the child is like starving and the only way to get them food is to steal?
Yeah.
These kind of questions that push our morals are the situations where we really have to stop and think, like, what is right? Is any one thing always right? And I feel like this show is so good at pushing that and giving you those questions. Especially, it does that a lot with the relationship also between Powder/Jinx and Vi. It's like, oh, Vi, you love your sister. You're gonna love her no matter what. Well, what if she is the reason everyone else you love is dead?
Yeah.
Are you still gonna love her? You know, like, it's pushing your moral limits, pushing the things that you thought would always be true. Like, let's find out if that really is true. And I think that's, again, exactly what happens with Jayce's character. He keeps thinking he knows what's best. He's trying to do what's right. Well, what happens if you find out what you thought was best wasn't? Oh, he course corrects.
Yeah.
In his opinion, he does what he finds is a course correct.
Yep.
And I find that really admirable.
Yeah.
I think that someone with more pride than him wouldn't have done that. They would have been like, well, I know what's best. I'm going to keep doing what I think is right. But no, he doesn't do that.
No, it's not his personality. It's just not who he is as a person.
Yeah.
He's a,
What do you think of Jayce?
I think Jayce is a very interesting character because I feel like he's about justice.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure about justice. But he wants to be behind the scenes of that justice, right? Like most superhero-like characters, they want to be up there and do all the good things they can do. Here you got the scientist who initially didn't want to make weapons.
Yeah.
He made them because they basically are at a point where they have to have something to protect themselves from the Shima. And now he's finally out there and he's got his hammer because he even has a little drawing of when he had the hammer with a little cape. So he had that that superhero persona idea.
Yeah.
But then when he finally gets to do it, and that sad scene happens, he's just like, whoa. The thing is, though, whether you're there, whether you're not, this stuff is happening. So for him to see that stuff is like, you gotta really understand what's going on here,
Yeah.
There's so much more around the world. So I thought that's kind of cool because when they showed that superhero aspect of him and then he got in there and then he was just like, no, I'm done with this. Granted, what happened was a child got killed, which is really sad, which is something you rarely see in any form of media.
Yeah, they kind of went there.
They went there.
That.
They're willing to push the limits. How far can they go? Right?
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. But yeah, overall, I think Jayce believes he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's why Hex was created, and that's why his way of thinking is a little bit different later on, obviously, as we see.
Yeah, and I also find him to be an amusing character.
He is very amusing.
Like when he comes over to Caitlin and he's like playing with the back of her hat and she comes and grabs him.
Grabs him so fast.
Yeah, so I think that he has his amusing and interesting moments also.
He definitely does.
Yeah, and his relationship with Victor.
Yeah, and he's like, and I think too, like how close he is to his mom too. It's just really nice to see.
Yeah,
so cute. And even he says to his mom too, if I'm remembering, that I might have to do something I never thought I'd have to do before, right? And she
like that, yeah.
And she basically just tells him like, it's how the world is.
Yeah.
In the end, while the show's writing is surprisingly good for a show based on League of Legends,
well, I mean, surprisingly good. I guess you could choose to be surprised by it. I think, like, you have to also consider that they spent 6 years, was it?
They spent 6 years developing this.
Mm-hmm. And they spent, like, 3 years finding the right voice actors. I think they put a lot of care into making this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could say it's surprising that it's so good. And I think that, like, if you compare this to, like, I guess a lot of people tend to compare this to the World of Warcraft movie, which I have seen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a gamer, she is. But I did see the World of Warcraft movie. I like watching stuff.
Which was shocking.
Well,
She's like, I saw the World of Warcraft movie.
Well, here's the thing, is, like, I like stuff that's, like, sci-fi fantasy, but I like watching stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's, like, more relaxing. I don't have to, like, do anything. I can just, I mean, maybe, I've played a couple times with you.
She made a WoW character.
I did. But anyway, a lot of people compare Arcane to the World of Warcraft movie. And they're very, very different. But it's, like, both of them are this movie created from a video game. But I feel like they took a very, very different route with this. And
yeah.
I feel like that's why it's so different. Because I know the World of Warcraft movie didn't do as well as this one. And this isn't a movie, too.
Well, there's reasons for that. But,
yeah, that's a topic for another time.
But the thing about, like, video game adaptations of movies and shows, they very rarely do well, right? So when this was first announced, they had already, a lot of people, even League of Legends fans, expected this to just fall. Like, they did not expect this to be good, just because we've had, like, World of Warcraft aside, there's been other movies like Spirits Within, I think it was, Final Fantasy Spirits Within, and other certain things I won't talk about right now because it's a long list, but they haven't done extremely well. The thing about, is surprising to me though, is that League of Legends really isn't, it's not a game that has a bunch of lore tied to it, a lot of story, where with Blizzard, it's an online MMO, so there's tons of lore, there's tons of stories.
My understanding, though, is that, like, so League of Legends, the game itself doesn't, but then they created Runeterra.
Yeah, they have Runeterra.
Right? And then that does.
Right, so that does have story.
I think that's probably where a lot of people were surprised, because most people are playing League of Legends.
Yeah. And
Runeterra does, I don't know that much about it, but it's supposedly does go a lot deeper into these stories if you choose to look into it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think a lot of people were so surprised. I think that some lead up to this does exist, but people weren't looking at that as kind of the source material.
But even Runeterra, like, it does have little, like, it does have some story and lore still, but it doesn't have as much that one would be like, oh my gosh. So they really did a fantastic job with, like, the story and the build-up, everything with Arcane.
And I have to say, to be honest with you, like, and he's saying, like, this is surprising. I wasn't sure when you first were like, hey, let's watch this. I was not so excited about it. She was like, hey, there's this TV show I've been wanting us to watch together. It has some LGBT stuff in it, and it's based on a video game. And my response was, I'll watch a few episodes with you, but if I don't like it, I'm not going to keep watching it. And so we did. After the first episode, I was like, yeah, I definitely plan to finish watching this. I already knew. So I'm not going to say that I thought that it was going to be good before I watched it. I really did like it, and I think that I could see why people would be surprised that it's as good as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are very few characters I actually care about at all. Because most...
Okay, so I am not like that. I think, though, that I'm the kind of person that gets invested in characters, for sure.
Yeah.
So I like most of the characters for different reasons. I like Vi. I think she's super interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of it partially because I don't understand her as well, and I'll ask you, because you kind of tend to understand her character better than me, and I'm like, what does this mean that she does? I like Caitlyn, I relate to her in some ways.
Yeah.
I like Jinx, Powder and Jinx. I think that, you know, even her I relate to in some ways.
Yeah.
I feel like I see all of the variety of types of characters, and they all are very strong in one way or the other. And, like, Savika even, like, she she just is who she is.
Yeah.
I feel like they each just have this imprint of this is the kind of character that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And they do grow as the series goes on, but they have some pretty solid, deep, strong traits in them. Like Vi being a brawler.
Yep.
She's a brawler, is a brawler, is a brawler. Savika being tough. She's tough.
Yeah.
Like, there are some times when she shows a little bit of vulnerability, and so does Vi.
Yeah.
But again, that's realistic. Mm-hmm. No one is only one thing.
Right.
But the fact that they have these strong traits, I feel like really makes them seem to me like archetypes of different qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I feel like I, in a way, can relate to all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I can relate to some of the worst characters because within me there's a shadow side, just like there is within everyone.
Yeah, true.
Within me is that Caitlyn who wants justice for the wrongdoings, you know. Within me is that Vi who just wants to fight when I see someone hurting someone I love. So I feel like, honestly, I can relate to all of these characters as, like, qualities and parts of pieces that are within me, but I also think within everyone.
Yeah.
I think we're all struggling for survival in one way or another, and I feel like this show just really beautifully displays that. Yeah. What was it he said that got me on that tangent? I got so passionate about it.
Oh, he doesn't like any of these characters.
Oh, I like all of them.
Let me go back to it.
Yeah, I think some of them, like, are just, like in the end of the first episode when Silco has singed and they're doing that, like...
The kitty!
That, yeah, in that scene, I was just like, oh, this is really hard to watch. But, I mean, within each of us, like I said, there's that kind of quality that wants to know something so badly that you'll do bad things to figure it out. You know... I don't know. I think it's,
layers.
You can choose, you know, what you want to give your power to.
Yeah,
you can choose not to be like that, but, you know, I think that within all of our psyches, that's in there somewhere.
It's in there somewhere. Let's see what.
Yeah. Most of them are just kind of.
Oh, snow. Boop, 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 boop. Was it right about? Let's see. Was fast.
At all. Because most of them are just kind of horrible people.
I don't think they're horrible people. I mean,
No.
I do think some of them are.
Well, okay.
But I think a select few are. I think Silco's a horrible person.
Me too.
To be honest with you. Yeah.
Singed.
Singed is pretty horrible, but I think that he also, you know, I think he has some good intentions.
Yeah, he does. Singed is not, like, number one, whatever, but he does have things he's trying to do. Because of him, you know, there are certain things, like, for instance, Vi was able to be saved because Shima was created by him, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because of that, and then he, in his own way, he's trying to do what he thinks is the best thing. Yeah. Which, once again, is shades of gray, though, right? He doesn't, he's not black and it's not white.
Yeah, I feel like he's a definite shade of gray. Yeah. He's like, I need to save the animal. What was the animal's name? Rio.
Oh, Rio.
I need to save Rio at all costs.
And then we find out why.
Inside of all of us is that part of us that wants to save our loved ones and wants to save our animals and at all costs. That's in us somewhere.
Yeah,
he just actually
Jinx.
Yeah, he just actually has the ability to do it. We don't.
And the thing about him is totally on the topic too, though. He had a daughter one time. So, you know, I'd be kind of interested about that.
Yeah, that would be an interesting
But yeah, Silco's terrible. He's horrible.
Yeah, Silco, I think, and some people actually are Team Silco.
There's a lot of people on Team Silco.
Yeah, I remember I was in a Facebook group. Yeah, I was in a Facebook group where they're like, which side are you on? I'm on side Team Vander. But yeah, there are a lot of people who think Silco's, he's in his own way trying to do what he thinks is best for them. Again, shades of gray, for sure, which is, again, what makes this interesting.
Right?
I think it's really interesting that this person watched it and didn't like it. Or he liked it, but not the characters.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting that you would watch something and like it without liking the characters.
Especially because this show is such a character-driven show, character development, right? So that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
So for you to say you don't like a show and it's not, like, character-driven, that's, okay, cool. I mean, I didn't like the characters, but the show was good.
Yeah.
This is so character-driven, it is surprising. Like, you didn't like any?
I know, and with so many shades of gray, I feel like it's surprising to not be able to relate to at least one of them in some way.
They're all relatable in their own ways, which is what's so great, because usually in a show they've got like the protagonist and they got the antagonist and they've got the side characters, and you can relate mostly with the protagonist, maybe the antagonist, or both, whatever. But this show, there's just so many layers of what you can relate to. You're just like thinking about yourself, hey, I've got some of Jinx in me when I'm doing my artistic stuff. Yeah. Hey, I want to punch that guy out. There's my Vi. Hey, that's just a terrible thing that person just did. There's the Caitlyn, you know?
Yeah.
And I can't think of any other show where I can think of, oh yeah, I feel like this part of his character's in me. This part of his character's in me, right? So that's why Riot's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're just so wonderful.
Yeah.
Thieves, killers, corrupt politicians. I'd love to meet someone in season 2.
I think a lot of the political side of this is... like, okay, so the politicians have their own best interests in mind.
Yeah,
and
they do.
That in and of itself, I feel like is really accurate. Like, I think politicians tend...
In general?
In general.
I like that.
Tend to have their own best interests in mind. And so I think that they're portraying that. They're portraying, like, these politicians that don't know what's going on in all parts of their city. And I think that's accurate. I think a lot of politicians don't know what's actually going on.
They don't know.
You can't know everything.
No. But they choose not to in their tower, right? Yeah. They don't care. When Vi starts telling them, you know, this is what's going on, and Caitlyn, what do? They want to kick her out. They don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, they don't want to hear about it.
They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Who's actually worth rooting for?
Okay, what characters do you root for?
Yeah.
I'm asking you.
Me?
Yeah.
I generally root for the underdog.
Oh, okay.
And I also root for, like, the interesting character. If we go with Avatar...
No, I mean, like, in this.
In this? Oh, I'm sorry.
You can say Avatar, because people are going to be wondering now that you mentioned it.
Well, of Korra. I root for Korra, for sure, and Asami. Yeah. On this, I am rooting for Vi.
Yeah,
I am rooting for Vi, and I love Caitlyn.
Me too. I'm rooting for Vi and Caitlyn.
I'm rooting for Vi and Caitlyn.
People ask, like, what team are you on?
I'm on Kate Vi.
Team, they usually separate it. Team Jinx or Team Vi.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Team Vi.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we're both on Vi, Caitlyn's side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I root for the people who are trying to make things better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they're trying to do. You know, so it should be interesting to see what they do in season 2.
Yeah, but I definitely... And, you know, I also rooted for Vander.
Yeah.
And what I was going to mention, too, I don't remember when it was, but it came into my mind earlier, was even Savika. I feel like she... I'm not on her side, but after we talked about Savika's character, even her, like, I feel like she's doing what she thinks is the best
in her own way
for her community in her own way.
Yeah. She's about the cause, right? So whatever's gonna be the best for the cause is what she's interested in doing.
Yeah.
She's interesting for sure though, because you can't really quite say she's clearly an antagonist because just the way she thinks. And I know she didn't like kill Silco, but I believe if he wasn't going with her, like with the way she thought things should be going, she probably would have taken him out.
Yeah, I feel like she's such an interesting character. Because again, it's not black or white.
It's not.
When I see her fighting Vi, I'm like always worried about Vi. Is Vi okay?
know.
I don't want to see Vi get hurt. No, she got Vi. So I'm always on Vi's side.
We're in the Vi.
But I still can see how Savika is noble in her own way.
She is.
And I was really upset when Savika, in my opinion, betrayed Vander.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she betrayed Vander. But she did it because she believed in fighting.
Yeah.
And so she does have her own quality of being, like, she's, what's the word? Like, aligned with something.
Yeah.
She has a sense of morals. I think it's really interesting because I think her morals are tied to fighting back against, I don't know what they were, Pilties. They call them Pilties. Because I'm like, the Undercity is still technically part of Piltover, but they call them Pilties.
Yeah, the Pilties.
She believes in fighting back against them, so she has a cause. And in a way, she's kind of noble for being like, hey, I'm going to align myself with whatever is going to stand behind my cause.
Yeah.
So when Vander no longer is her guy, she's like, I'm going to stay with the cause. Which, again, like, to her, like, she's following her morals. Yeah. She's doing what she thinks is right. Mm-hmm. I'm not on her side, but I can see a nobility in her. Yeah. Yeah. So I can see why people would root for her. I just think that everyone in this, again, like, it's not black and white. It's not she's bad. It's she's going against the person I like better. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot to explore in each of these characters. They all have motivations. I feel like the story is based more on motivation than it is on right or wrong. Yeah, I agree. It's like, oh, look at what she's motivated by. Oh, look, so what motivates Vi is generally the people close to her. She wants to fight for them. Mm-hmm. What motivates Savika is her cause. And she says to Jinx, oh, when he realizes you're just about as good for his cause.
As you were for your family.
Yeah. Because she has on her mind all the time the cause. Yep. I want to fight for the cause. Yeah. Yeah. Silco's a little more difficult to pinpoint. He does care about his people close to him, like Vander did. He cares about himself a lot. He cares about power. Yeah. So do the politicians over in Piltover. They care about themselves. They care about power. Yeah. So I think that this is more a story of motivation than right or wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is the reason why someone who is more of a black and white kind of thinker wouldn't really enjoy it as much. They're not like, oh, there's a clear-cut hero for me to stand behind. Mm-hmm. In this story, it's interesting how much it's kind of split. Yeah. There are people who are huge Jinx fans. Yeah. They're like, I love Jinx. And like I said, people ask, are you Team Jinx or Team Vi? And they're like, I love Jinx. She's the best. Like, she got hurt. She did get hurt by Vi. She did. Yeah. And so there are people who align themselves with her. There are people who think Silco's the best thing for this whole situation, like he's the best and they're on his team.
He took her in, right? Mm-hmm. So he's like her father, so that's why. I mean, because initially initially when we first watched it, like, you know, he had the knife. Mm-hmm. He could have killed her if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. And he didn't because he saw himself in her. Yeah. Right? When he got abandoned by Papa Van Van. Yeah. So that's why we'll show them all, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why people really like Silco, because like he took in Powder / Jinx and he didn't abandon her, and he's there for her, you know, so I can kind of see it. I'm still not a fan of him, but I can see why people, you know, can appreciate certain aspects of him.
Yeah. So I think it's based on, like, the story is pushed forward by people's motivations, and their motivations aligning. Like, Caitlyn and Vi's motivation happens to align. Yeah. So it just happens to. Yeah. Vi, because she values her family, wants to go after Silco and take him down. Caitlyn, because she has a fierce sense of justice, wants to prove that Silco's behind all of this and go after him and take him down. So they have different reasons for why they are that way, but it just so happens that their actions end up aligning, what their goal based on their motivations ends up aligning enough for them to be working together at some points. Sometimes more than others. Yeah, yeah. So, but then you see Vi and Savika clashing heads because, you know, they're on opposite sides, of course. But also, like, Vi is trying to protect her family. Yep. And Savika peaced out on Vander. Yeah. She left him. She did. So I think that those kind of things, you know, you're not like, oh, Vi is right and Savika's wrong. You can't really say that that's the case. No, you can't. But I say, like, I support Vi. Yeah. And I'm on her side. Yeah. But, yeah, it's not super clear. And if someone is more interested in those stories that are more about, like, there's a clear hero, there's a clear enemy, I feel like there are a lot of stories like that out there, too, to watch and enjoy. But I feel like this is a very different story, and that's what's so enjoyable and unique about it.
Yeah, it really is. It's such a wonderful show. Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything else in here.
Let's see.
Who's with me?
Oh, that's it! Yay, thanks for watching that with us. You had a couple more thoughts, huh?
Yeah, so for me, like, if you don't enjoy something, I'm trying to wrap my mind around why would you keep watching it? Because if it's a game, a book, a show, if I'm not, like, invested at all, or if I'm really against whatever's going on, I'm gonna turn that off. I don't know about you. I mean, I know you get episodes and then you're just, like, done with it.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't like a certain aspect. So if you're not a fan of, like, characters in a show, and it's a character-driven show, go watch something else.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yep. But I like to talk about things that I like, and I think other people enjoy making content about, like, criticizing other things, and that's, to me, it's just not my preference. Yeah, and I feel always like my free time and my time in general is very valuable.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I prefer, if something isn't enjoyable, I'll stop listening to it, I'll stop watching it, but so it depends on, you know, if you're watching something in order to be able to give critiques and with, like, more of a artist's eye and perspective, whereas for someone like me, like, I like to talk about Arcane, but I like to talk about and give my energy and heart and time to things that I enjoy and value and love. So
I mean, yeah, your time is valuable, right? Why would you spend time not enjoying stuff?
Yeah.
Spend the time you want to. Like, if just, to me, it's just interesting, but some people just do that. I mean, we have morbid curiosity to something. Yeah. Maybe that's what that was. Yeah. 9 hours morbid curiosity.
Yeah. That's a lot of time to put into something that you're not really so into.
And, like, out of the entire cast, there's not one character. Where was the Caitlyn? Caitlyn's amazing.
Yeah, Caitlyn, I mean, here's the thing, again, to a black and white thinker, I think that that's the difference, is that for me personally, speaking for myself, I see all of the shades of gray in between.
Of course.
And try not to see anything as all good or all bad, but some people do. And some people, like, it serves them in some ways. But for me, it's not how I like to think about things. But I could see how someone who is a black and white thinker looks at Caitlyn's actions. Caitlyn is an enforcer, but she does some things that are moral. I mean, like, she's following her own internal moral compass, which is kind of how I am and prefer to be, following what she thinks is right over the rules. So she's not even necessarily following the rules. She goes into Stillwater after she's supposedly been fired. She goes and steps across the line when she's not supposed to. She busts Vi out of there when she's not supposed to. So she does these things that are against the rules. So if you're like, hey, are you a good person? One could argue either way. Yeah. They could argue, oh, she's following her internal knowledge of what she thinks is right, versus following the rules that have been externally laid out for her. So, yeah, I could see how, you know, a black and white thinker would even look at sweet, precious Caitlyn, whom I adore, and be like, I don't really get behind your actions and what you've chosen to do here. Yeah. Well, to each their own. Yeah, they might think, like, oh, you're supposed to follow your commanding officer, Marcus, you know, yeah. So, but we can see how Marcus is pretty corrupt, so if she did that, she wouldn't be being such a good person. Right. Not that she knew that at the time. But anyway, yeah, I think it's all very complicated. So, and it definitely depends on the mindset that you bring into watching it. Agreed. Yeah. Yes. I'm glad you got to say a little more. Like, when I first showed it to her, she was like, what? I can't believe someone watched this for this long. and they didn't end up liking any of the characters. Yeah, it's surprising to me,
It's just because it's a character-driven show.
Yeah, right. It really is.
That's the thing. Like, if it was any other show, and it was more about the story, not about the characters, like, I didn't really care for these characters. Okay, fine. But this is really what it is. Yeah. Especially character development. So well done.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say? That's it?
That's all I got this time.
Awesome. Well, thanks you all for watching. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you can stay in touch with us. Look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Sending you so much love. Till next time.
Latest!